Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made the underskirt for my 18th century robe a la Francais pumpkin dress thing. Hello, happy fall. I know that I've said that for the last like 4 videos, but happy fall. So in this video, I am going to show you how I made the underskirt for my 18th century robe a la pumpkin. I don't know, I'm still working on the name, but anyway. So I thought about this maybe like 3 months ago when I was kind of like in the thick of the whole like quarantine and I was feeling real down. I had gotten like 3 guesting cancellations in 2 days, and I was like, I need to think about fall. Like, I just need to put my head in fall. Like, not that this is gonna go away or things are gonna be like better by fall, just I need to be in the headspace of fall. So I created a like a Pinterest album of like November leaves and like Christmas tree gowns and fall costume or like fall pumpkin-y like looks. And I had this orange taffeta that I got for $1 a yard that I've had in my studio since 2017. And I was like, this is it. This is the year that I finally make the pumpkin dress of my dreams. So yeah, this is the beginning of that journey. I am using undergarments that I already have. So I've already made, if you have seen my video on making my 18th century stays, that I will link it above. And then I also made a new chemise and new pocket panier, not just for this costume, but for a few costumes that I'm gonna be doing that are 18th century themed, inspired, whatever. So that's where I'm at, is I'm gonna be basically making a pumpkin inspired 18th century gown, and I'm gonna be following the American Duchess pattern to like a T, just because I feel like it. The only thing I'm gonna be doing differently is for the stomacher, I do plan to digitize some like vine-like leaves on like on the yellow taffeta that I have. And I'm gonna try to play around with using like the colored gold work. It's basically the utensils you use for gold work, but they're in different colors. So I bought a bunch of greens and stuff, and that'll probably be the next video I do on this project, or I might do like a combination of like the mock-up of the like dress. But anyway, that's for the next time. In this video, I am gonna be making the underskirt, and I am not gonna go too deep into the hand sewing stuff because I've already kind of covered this technique, the gathered like trim technique, in a video. However, I did decide to add beads to it, and that is gonna kind of change it up. So I'll kind of go over that. And yeah, I hope you guys like this video, and I hope you enjoy my journey of making an 18th century robe a la pumpkin or something. If you have a better name, please like tell me below, help me. So the punnier, the better. But yeah, let's get right into it.
Prior to this video, I actually cut all of my fabric out, and I was using Simplicity 8578 and then this beautiful silk taffeta from Silk Baron. I cut all of my pieces out according to the instructions, and I actually did all of the pieces except for the template piece, which you will see me do later on. And now I'm prepping my fabric for French seams. I start by lining up my notch that I created, and I'm actually pinning 2 side ones to one of the folded front pieces, and then I'll repeat to do it on the back. I do have an entire video on how to sew French seams, so I'm not really going to go through the process, but that is how I sew all of my panels together for this to have a clean finish on the inside. For this underskirt, there is a total of 6 French seams, and for the 2 side panels, I'll show you how I do the French seam into the narrow rolled hem at the top so that you can get into the pockets. All right, time to press that seam, and don't worry guys, this time I made sure there was no leftover water in my iron, so no accidents this time. All right, and then I can trim my seam down, and then the last thing that I'll do for prepping for my French seams, or for making my French seams, is I will fold my fabric over this and I will press it, pin it, and sew it again. So moving on to the side panels, we are going to do the same thing again. We're going to line up that notch, but actually that notch is going to be basically where we stop sewing, because once we've created our French seam from the bottom to that point, we will turn that into a narrow hem. So I'm not going to bore you in the steps of making these French seams. We're just going to jump right to the point where we are turning that into narrow rolled hem. There is one more piece of prep that I do before I sew up the rest of the French seam on this, and that's I just clip this section just until I get close to that area, and then I will trim down my excess and sew it into my French seam. So we've got our French seam on the bottom portion, and now we are going to take this top part on each side seam and we're going to fold it over once, going as far to that clipping as we can. And you can see here, this is probably like 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to fold it over again and press it in place. This helps me prep for sewing it. I will also pin it after this step, but I like to press it all first. And then go in and pin it before sewing it down. So as you can see, the notch that we cut into it made it easier to create this piece. However, you can get a slight bit of fraying. If that concerns you, you can try to use something like Fray Check, although a lot of Fray Check will stain your silk, so just double check to make sure that whatever you use there doesn't stain it, or you can just go like I do and leave it. It's 3/4 of an inch and it's folded over. The fraying really stops once you actually get it all sewn up and you stop working with the fabric, so it's dealer's choice, obviously. All right, so now we get to gather down our panels, our front section and our back section. And this part is really, really fun. But I'm going to basically mark my markings, and I'm gonna let you know on the one you see here, I actually have to redo it later because the white didn't show up very well, and then also I was about an inch away from the real center. I followed a marking that I thought was the center and it wasn't, so you can see how it hangs off the back. It actually won't do that if you mark for the true center, although I did have, because I did French seams, I did have a little bit more of this paper piece left over. I didn't think it was too big of a deal. I think it was like an inch, maybe total, 1/2 inch. So yeah, we're gonna mark this based off of our pleating piece, and then I will pleat it down and I will sew it down. I sew about 1/4 of an inch to the top. I tried to get as close to the top as I can, knowing that I'm gonna add ribbon next.
Okay, so I did the last of the machine sewing, which was to add the band, and basically I had this ribbon left over. It's a grosgrain ribbon, and they say to use ribbon. This fit. I could fold it over the edge and not have anything pop out, so I'm using this, and then it'll tie on the sides, and I literally just folded it over itself. The next step is going to be to hand sew the hem. It's going to be a narrow rolled hem, so I'm going to press that and then get it pinned, and then I'll show you just a tiny bit of the hand sewing technique. I'm gonna use the 18th century costuming book that American Duchess wrote. Since this is also their pattern, I figured the hand sewing techniques that they use in there will be helpful for this. So that's what you're gonna see next.
So I realized that I made one big mistake according to the book. Basically, when you do this type of hem, you actually baste it first and then you fold it over. I was doing the prep as if I were to do this on machine, which you actually do baste it on machine too, but I was not going for such a small hem. But anyway, here it is, and lesson learned. Read the stitch before you start doing it. All right, the pattern has you create a stencil out of the piece that you like cut out, and I didn't have any cardstock, or I had cardstock, but it wasn't large enough to cover the piece, so I actually made it out of this 2mm foam that I had, and it worked really well, especially with my tool, because I used more of like a pointed end tool to be able to mark and cut this out versus my serrated blade thingy that makes dots. I thought that this was just more convenient for me, so I basically trace it on my 2 pieces of 70-inch fabric, and then I will cut this out with pinking shears. To prep for the hand sewing portion of this, I'm going to fold my top ruffle bit over. This actually has 2 fold lines and has you gather it down twice, but I really wanted to just do it once just to see what it looked like, because I have plans to do this technique on a much larger scale for a different gown. So I thought like this would be a great kind of like play around with it, see how it looks. So I'm only doing 1 fold, and now I do have a video on how to do this technique, like the hand sewing of the gathered trim. So I'm not really gonna go too in depth on it, but I do prep my fabric, and then I will also mark it with a like water soluble pencil every 12 inches. And this is because I'm gathering 12 inches down to 6 inches. And so every 12 inches becomes my stopping point. So once I've hand gathered down the pieces, I am going to actually press this open, and that's how it's gonna lay flat, but it'll also create this really cool gathered effect. And then I don't do this on camera, but I did end up hand sewing little bugle beads along this area as well before sewing it onto my actual garment. I also repeat the exact same process with the smaller trim that goes up at the top of this underskirt. I don't actually have footage of it, but it's exactly how you would do the gathered trim from the video that I've linked previously. So now that my trim is done, it's time to attach it to the gown. To do this, I start at the center front, and I actually start with the bottom ruffle because I want this to just like barely line up with my hem. So I start at the center front near the bottom, and then I just kind of pin it and I work it around so that it is properly lined up, but also so that it is it lays as flat as I can get it. And eventually I just pin through both layers and then stick my hand into the dress and like unpin all of that, but that's how I do it. And then also for the top ruffle, I did take some artistic liberties and make it a little bit swirlier because I just wanted to. I didn't actually follow the lines on the pattern that it places for this. I kind of just wanted to do my thing, and I like the way it turned out. I absolutely love how this turned out. I've never really been a fan of like the fake front piece where like you have the ruffles and stuff, but you know what, like after doing it, it makes sense on like why you don't take it all the way around. This has been such a fun little like project, and it has really like brought me so much joy. So I'm just so happy with how it turned out and working on it and all of the jazz.
Okay, so this is part 1 of this series on making this costume. This is seriously like my heart and soul type projects. Just making like historical gowns with both historical techniques but also modern techniques. Like I do use my sewing machine. I'm never gonna not, I mean that's a lie, I might someday like challenge myself or just feel like hand sewing everything on something, but this is just how I like making costumes. I do like the hand sewing portions, and so that's why I did like the hem, and like the, you know, even though those are things that I could have gotten away with doing on machine, I wanted to do them the right way. But yeah, in the next video, I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna do like mock-up and like digitizing the embroidery, or like just go straight to the embroidery of the stomacher, and then we'll do another video on the dress. But that's kind of where my head is at. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you like this. I can't wait to share the next part of this journey with you guys. And if you like this video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, comment below, and if you would like to support my work, you could go over to Patreon. I do have a link to that below, and you can pledge however much you want. And I believe that's everything. Yes, that is all the things. Yes. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Happy sewing! Woo!
Hi, baby. Hi, I know you want to be in all the shots.
Okay, down.
Good girl. Eva, stand. Good girl.
Last one.
Oh, that was a good little spin.
That was cute.
Little twisty girl.
You did so good.
Twisty
You did
girl.
so good. Yeah. So now you subscribe to my channel for Eva.